Live, but it's just Mike Weiss today talking human with Witz and Weiss. I'm missing Witz. Where is Witz? So today it's talking human with not Witz and Weiss, just Weiss. So today we are going to cover the mindset of sales. What I've been working on and basically challenging my private clients that are in our Done For You program, which is all about LinkedIn, Done For You, content marketing, lead gen, thought leadership. We're working on helping them frame the mindset of sales. So I was in a conversation with an organization that is generating leads. You pay them and they generate 10 to 20 leads a month. And you're paying them quite a bit of money to do the work. So their ideal customer, understanding your offer, going through and sort of writing some of the email marketing, cold emails with you, and some LinkedIn outbound, but mostly cold email marketing, sending out the original email, having people respond, and then they go back and forth and they book an appointment. So this service, you're getting an appointment booked for you. So in my many conversations with the founder, prior to them getting into this done for you, they used to work with thought leaders and sales teams, training their teams to do that. And what they found was that they were in a business where they were working hard and the consumer or their client really wasn't enjoying working with them. Not because they weren't good, because the vast majority of people don't like sales. And it seems to me that the more mature you get, the less salesy you want to be. And this is one of the things we're going to break down, the mindset of where you're at in your career. What I've noticed is that, as you get older, you're, acquiring wisdom, and being labeled as a salesy person or a salesperson is not something that most people want. Now, let's go back and imagine you're in college. I know for some of us that might be a while, but some of us might be in college now or just out of college. When you're in college and you were hustling in college, either maybe to make money for college or for spending money, and you were never self-conscious about sounding salesy about anything because you were just in action. Now you get your first job. And some people ended up in sales, and those people, generally speaking, through the interview process, would enjoy being in sales. That's why they took the job and they have experience. But other people ended up in all different types of vocations. And then as you gain wisdom and experience, and you sort of move out of your 20s into your 30s, you've got the chance or the ability to or the opportunity to start a side hustle. Gary Vaynerchuk, who's the guy that got me into LinkedIn, just has, a wonderful conversation continually about side hustles. And what that might look like is you're running HR and you've been doing it for a half a decade or more, and you do a great job. And you realize that there's a lot of HR people that are coming to you and they're saying, you've done such a great job. You're killing it with your company. How do you do it? What are you doing? What's going on? What makes you so special in this HR world? That's the opportunity for a side hustle. And a side hustle would basically say, okay, I'm experienced. I'm successful. I've failed a lot, which is how we grow. I have specialized knowledge, but bottled up, kept to myself, and only servicing this ABC company might not suit me in the long term, either for, oh, yes, Greg.
Hi there.
Hey there. Either for, let me just finish this thought, either for your own say, a financial desire, or even more than that. The side hustle leads to, you know what, I want to end up consulting in this area. So let me can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. Witz is in.
Okay, good. Let me change my camera. Let me just see if this works for you guys. Okay, yeah, no, we are good. We're cooking with oil. Maybe I'll mirror my camera. Mike loves it when I turn on the mirroring.
Mirroring. So just to fill you in, I'm on a sort of a dialogue with myself because I was missing the wits
Yeah.
about the psychology of sales, and not really sales techniques, but realizing from the conversations that I've had that people don't normally or generally like to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, also speaking from my experience, the older we get, the less we want to sound salesy. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of reverse back into, say, we're in our college world and we have to hustle to make either pay for college or have spending money. We never worry about sounding salesy. We just do whatever it takes.
Right.
And because out of necessity, we're taking action. And then when you come out of college, the salespeople get sales jobs. So we're not worried about the psychology of a salesperson because they choose that. But
Right.
the rest come into a lot of different great opportunities. And then I sort of took the next step and said, okay, let's pretend that you went into HR and then, you got from your 20s to your 30s, you did a great job. You were at one or two places and you're great. And all of a sudden you've got other people in HR that sort of lean on you and say, how do you do this? How do you do that? You're doing a great job. Can you help me with this? So what happens is that you've elevated to a place through trials and tribulations and success, but you've developed your own methodology and wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And then talking about what that looks like, transitioning that into a side hustle, meaning that, and this is right where you came in, that you've basically got two ideas. That one, your vocation's good, but you're going to be fixed at a certain salary that you want to make more.
Right.
Um, or you have an inspiration to be a consultant to other HR people.
Right.
And so that's where I'm sort of the second level of now really the psychology, because now we're talking about if you want to, consult for whatever the reasons are, you're stepping into a world that you might not be familiar, which is
Mm-hmm.
sales.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a
Actually,
doctor, right? If it's a doctor,
yeah.
and then they develop methodologies and processes, and they want to step in and grow their own business, start up a business, an app, HR, or many different fields.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it can be, a top librarian that creates a methodology, or even anything like we spoke about last week, customer service. You just crush it.
Right. So what you're saying is someone that call it they're some sort of professional HR doctor. They're growing. They recognize that, hey, you know what? I'm going to be capped off. I can only make so much money, but I got this methodology. I got this tool. I got this thing I can teach, and now I'm going to go take it out there. But this is now going to require me to sell. It's going to require me to switch off being the doctor and develop the sales skills versus some of us that have come out of school early days from jumping into that sales. We were trained on how to sell. Right. And I heard the
Yeah.
third thing I heard you say is none of us like to sell. Right? It's an icky
Except for the
feeling
people,
sometimes.
except for the people that like to sell, which are the salespeople.
Right,
So let's put
right.
all the salespeople
Okay.
out of this conversation. We're talking about really just professionals
Professionals.
that
Okay.
want to create something, which is a business.
Right.
Consulting, it's this, that app. Like we're talking about, and it could be a side hustle. You don't have to leave your job because side hustles
Right.
work, or leave your job. And now you're in coaching consulting. You have your own software, own startup, and now most companies start like that you need to be a selling CEO.
Mm-hmm. Right. Which you need to be promoting your business. Okay, so maybe let's create a list of stuff that kind of becomes a block for people. So what prevents the professional from really, marketing and selling their business well, right? Well, I think in the positions that we've just described, HR and doctor, one of the things that we could appreciate about that, also like an investment advisor, your financial planner, it's a trusted advisor position. So what's the line between me driving my own need, which is to get the methodology, the product, or the thing going in your hand, versus, being that trusted advisor? In other words, if it wasn't mine, would I be recommending it, type of thing?
Wait a
I
second.
just,
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Because first of all, a couple of things. I love, and I always end up in the position of a trusted advisor with our customer, and you earn that. But and that's a great place to be. But you just connected. Last week we spoke about words and the meaning of words.
right.
So you just said trusted, and now I want to correlate that to do people trust salespeople? Because maybe
Yeah.
those two words subconsciously
It's
is
hard. It's
what.
hard to trust a salesperson. I mean, think about a car. Like, you're going to get the car. The first thing you're thinking as a buyer is, I don't know if I got the best deal, right? They're a car salesperson. I could probably get more. Like, it starts out with this sort of disguise, which is like, can I trust you? Can I this? Now, let's back up. How did I learn to sell, by the way? Was through the vicious, you win it or you lose it. You close them or you don't. You overpower, you push that sale, and you close it at the end. And today, if you ask me to sit in a sale, I get all right, because it goes against the trusted thing. It's one of my core values, right? And I think to that point, I mean, you also said something, which is being a trusted advisor takes time, and it's you got to earn it. Yes, so maybe this is the big
I think
question.
there's something that like people say, I want to be trusted, and then also I don't want to be a salesperson because you can't trust a salesperson. Let's
Right.
let's table that for a second.
Okay.
And the other big idea, which is funny, because I remember when I was partnered with John Asseroff. John's, if you don't know him, he was in the movie The Secret. He's an amazing guy. He's built like 5 big companies. He has a great backstory. Toronto guy.
Yeah. Is that how
Um,
he became big? That was his tipping point, was the secret?
well, big, yeah, big globally, but he was on the verge of, as he describes it, his his childhood was like rocky. He was doing a lot. He was a big guy, on the verge of either going to jail, as he says, or this opportunity came. And they got some mentors that were in real estate, and they recognized his skills as a sales guy, and they put him in to run a Remax of Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically he ran Remax of all the entire state of Indiana.
Okay.
And then his passion was trying to figure out why some salespeople, small amount of them, did well and the rest sucked. So
Mm-hmm.
he hired Bob Proctor to speak. And that was the psychology of mindset. And then John was like, oh, wow. And then that's set him off on mindset. And then he built a bunch of businesses. But the big thing that helped him, along with anyone that was in The Secret, was The Secret. So I was in John's mastermind during that time, and The Secret had just finished filming. And it was just podunk, little shitty production by this woman that no one really knew, but she had the chutzpah to be able to wrangle in John and Bob Proctor, who was kind of the lead one, and a lot of these mindset people. And she basically did interviews. They did most of them at an event that they were mostly at, green screen. If you see the production, it's really
It's
not great.
real basic, real basic. I'll never forget, I had a roommate at the time, and he came home, and it was a burned copy, and on it was written The Secret. I was like, what is this? He's like, it's The Secret. I was like, well, what is The
because
Secret?
because he showed us because we were live. We were
Yeah.
live, and he's like, "Hey, I just did this, and I just got my CD copy. It was a CD, right?"
Right.
And it said The Secret, and he played it, and we're like, "Oh, that's good." That went on to do the property between the book and the movie has done $1 billion in sales.
Oof.
So obviously, if you're in there and you're one of the gurus, then it's a big deal. I mean, his story in The Secret's amazing. Anyway, we're because anyway, you go watch the movie.
If you haven't watched it, highly recommend it for sure.
It's on YouTube.
100. 100.
And the thing that's so amazing about it, I mean, there's a lot of things that, it takes you to the beginning of mindset. So people were really upset because it doesn't take you to the middle or to the end. But anyway, it opened up a billion people, $1 billion worth of people around the world opened up to, this, which is amazing. But when we were working together, he's a great salesperson. He's a great speaker on stage in person. He was on Larry King like 6 or 7 times. So he had professional coaching. He's great on TV. We were filming our stuff in Brian Tracy's studio. And so that was in Del Mar, and John was in Rancho Santa Fe. Tracy's office and studio was near Del Mar. And we would film there. They have great production, 2-camera shoots, great film editing guys. And so we were filming this lunch, and all the stuff was coming out great. And then we were doing the webinar. And, when you have like a film team, then, you can say cut, and they edit the crap out of it, which is really a pain in the ass because I was the one sitting there with those guys.
Right.
An hour worth of filming took like 10 or 20 hours. It's a disaster.
Correct.
So, but you get so comfortable because you can just say cut, and you think they're going to cut magic. Anyway, the first 3 quarters was amazing. And every time he transitioned into the offer, because the first 3 quarters was just crushing sales, all John stuff, amazing mindset stuff. And there's a pivot into to the offer, and it just got depowered. And I kept saying, John, or cut. I said, cut. Like we can't move into this part and lose power. So we went back and forth. There was this conversation that has stuck with me, and I don't know how it came about, but really I said to him, look, if there's 10,000 people watching and you're depowered, and at a 10,000, 10% buy, you can help 1,000 people. And we were getting great results with the program, like changing people's lives. And I said, if there's 10,000 people watching and you're powerful in the close, and 50% or 5,000 people buy it, how do you make a bigger impact in the world? And what are you up? Aren't you, that's why you do this? Like, would you rather do it and have 1,000 for the same energy and everything? We're going to spend money on ads and spend money on it. And there's going to be 10,000 people. Would you rather help 1,000 people or 5,000? So then you shift everything, and you literally, for the person that doesn't like to sell, you've got to step into the place that it's my responsibility. In fact, when you start to go into Kabbalah and some of the spiritual stuff, it's not your responsibility. It's your duty.
Your desire.
Because it's one of your skills. No, it's your duty. It's not your desire. It's your duty, because you've been put on this planet to help others. So if you're not stepping up powerfully, then you're falling short. And you could be making $1 million a year, and that's not okay, because if you can help 5,000 people, then it's your duty to step up, because you've got the ability to help that many more people. And when you start to be able to have a conversation with someone that doesn't like to sell and get them into the position like, I can see the power in this, you can make the shift.
I'm listening to you talk, and this is what hit me. If one, you have a good product or program, right? And two, you believe in it, right? And you're committed to doing work, you don't need to sell, because at that point you're putting yourself in a space where hopefully you're going to attract buyers. You're going to attract individuals that say, actually, I'm into this. But if you're not doing that, then you better be really good at selling, because you have to have one or the other, right? You got to have the ability to go out and create the business, right? But your best case scenario is you end up like you, where you're so committed and passionate, and it's a duty to live this thing and to share this thing. Then hopefully what we're going to do is we're going to get people buying. What do you think about that? You like that? Not as powerful? No, not that powerful?
No, because I've been... Look, now this is where you and I are both going to belly up, because I've been in digital marketing for 16 years and at the top of my game in 2012, and I suck today. And so if you have the ability to build some automated great funnel that's going to do it for you, then you can step into one of those things that you say. And so you've been working on your funnel. This is not an easy thing.
No, I mean, it's cost a fortune of money, and it's taken a ton of time, and we've netted zero. And it's not because of what we do isn't amazing. It's back to that thing. It's we haven't figured out the formula, right? Which is going to be able to run in an automated way. That might take a lifetime to figure out.
Yeah, and which means you and I both, in each of our businesses, which are very different, we end up on a consultative approach, going through what we do with people to enroll them.
Correct. That's what I do.
Like
That's why I
I,
was late today. That's exactly what I was doing. Right?
yeah, yeah. So I think what happens is that you want to put people in a position at the end of that consultative sales to choose versus sell. Sell gives me like this icky feeling, like I think he's amazing because he's crushing it, Grant Cardone, but I get an icky feeling because he's using the same sales strategies and tactics that was taught in 1987, 88, 92, and 94, where literally I can remember myself on the phone. I get the GBGBs now on a phone with a guy
With the
worth
script.
$10 million with a script telling him he's got to buy 10,000 IBM. It's a $200,000 or $50,000 or $250,000 trade. And he's waffling. And I literally say to him, can you stand up for me? Are you wearing a skirt?
Right.
Because who makes the decisions in the
Right.
family? You or your wife? You can't make a decision right now. You're not held responsible for the
Yeah.
decisions for
I
the
don't want you as a
financial.
client.
So
Right?
that's the. I mean, that was the way. I mean, that was the
Yeah.
way back then.
Yeah.
I
You
don't
know
beat
what? You
myself.
know what mine was, by the way. So yours was what? You can't make a decision. You're your own human being, which was like, oh, okay. And I think there's movies like this. Mine was an ending question in the sale, right? So first you made them feel like shit, and then you said this: are you willing to put in the effort? Because only if you're willing to put in the effort, I think we have something here. But if not, then I don't think we should continue the conversation. I was like, of course I wanted to put in the effort, right? Okay, then I'd like you to proceed. And to this day, I know the script. I've got it memorized. I could repeat it. I could get on the phone today. I get the heebie-jeebies, right? And it's maybe that experience has impacted my hesitancy to sell today.
To sound salesy, and it's true because it falls in manipulation,
Correct.
and manipulation. There's no place for manipulation today
Correct.
because we evolved. We're better humans, right?
Correct. Hey, by the way, you've seen this just to go. Have you seen this Andrew Tate? Have you heard of him?
No,
He's like this new. I'm going to show you after. He created something called Hustlers University. Anyway, there's a lot of controversy around this, right? And what one actually learns and stuff like that. But it's exactly what you were describing. It's the manipulation, it's the sell, it's the how to do all of this. And look, the truth to that is it actually works, by the way. As you said, all of these old school tactics learned in 87, 89, 92, and 94, unfortunately, in some capacity, still work today. Not that one should have to use them,
no, they
but
do. You know what? It's manipulation, so it does work. And the really talking about a lot of people today. But I'm just general. I'm just saying my opinion. The Wolf of Wall Street. That I'm not going to say the name. You can look it up, but it's one of the most disgraceful um, scenarios of all time because it wasn't like someone robbing from a bank and getting busted and going to jail. They robbed from the people that couldn't afford to lose the money, and they bankrupt people. People committed suicide. Old people had to move into their kids' houses. It was terrible. And then he went to jail, and then he came out, and he was selling his sales.
his methodology. Here's how.
Yes. Here's how to manipulate people. And if you're not doing it in stocks, you won't go to jail because they won't throw you in the jail, but you can manipulate the shit out of people. And
Correct.
it's unfortunate. So, this is where I think people want to keep, if there's a swim lane, you want to keep 5 lanes over from that. But if the pendulum swings too far away, then you're not going to make the sale. So this is like, we have every Thursday a meeting with our group, and I've spent the last 90 days in sort of going over outbound with LinkedIn, messaging with LinkedIn, enrollment
Mhm.
conversations. And I think, a lot of people are starting to really get it and really be like, oh, yeah, I can do it in a way where I can share where my value is. I
Mhm.
can go through them where I see them stuck and what they've tried and why it's not working and what's the logical result if they continue to do the stuff that they're doing. And
Mhm.
then if you try to implement and can implement some of the stuff I'm teaching, what might be possible. And if that sounds cool, then let me know.
Right.
So
But you
today,
just
yeah,
but you notice what you said there. You didn't say I'm teaching anyone how to sell. You said what I'm helping people develop is their ability to communicate outbound, uh, defining their value, defining how they want to communicate and express that, encouraging and building a community. No, I'm just paraphrasing, right? Giving before asking, right? Like serve up, give, share, right? You and I have had this conversation for a long time. Still, we're not doing it well enough. But you said to me, like, Greg, you've got so much to give. You should be giving it out all the time. I'm like, yes, I just got to organize it to give it, right?
yeah,
So that's what I believe. I teach something called the relationship economy that says if you want to be able to be successful in a sales role today, there are some traditional things. Number one, we got to be sort of disciplined in certain activities and stuff. I think with any role, leadership, sales, service, entrepreneurship, it's the discipline and the consistency that drives a lot of success in these things. But I teach something called the relationship economy, which is if you're going to move into a sales role, are you willing to go the next 18 months in the exercise and the effort of building a relationship and a connection and a partnership with this individual, right? In order to actually be in a position and a privileged position of being able to offer your services or your product. If you're willing to do that, you'll kill it in business development. If you're not willing to do that, then it's going to be back to what we were talking about before, that transactional type of manipulative approach.
okay. So you first of all, yeah, I'm down with you and what you say because we're very aligned in our thought process. But this is the part that two parts you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
that is rather interesting. Your perspective was 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
Most people have no long term perspective. They have, I'll try something for 30 days. If it doesn't work, then I either blame the person or blame the platform or it's rarely ever blame myself, but I'll blame a vendor or sometimes blame myself.
Correct.
30 days.
Correct. Instant. How come it hasn't worked? Because I've done it for 30 days. It should work.
Right. So I think that's a big one. I love, Gary Vaynerchuk is I love his stuff. He's so funny. Like, he is, he was talking about new platforms that come out and how people that are crushing on one platform rarely ever crush it on multiple platforms. And
Mm-hmm.
he crushed it on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, Facebook, um, LinkedIn, and now TikTok. And everyone. And some of those he's an early investor in. And he says the number one reason that he can determine why that people aren't willing to go multi-platform is because they're satisfied in the place that they're at because it's working, and they're reluctant to start at zero again.
Mm-hmm. And then go the distance with that, starting at zero and then going the distance. Absolutely.
Yeah, and these are people that have already done it on a platform. He says they don't want to start from zero, ego, everything else. They don't want to do it. So it's interesting because you and I are doing this show, Talking Human, with Witz
Mm-hmm.
and Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
And when we spoke about it, we both said, okay, here's how it works. We're going to start at zero.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it. We're doing it once a week. We created a show. It's not like, oh, I'm going to give LinkedIn Live a shot. Like I did that for 2 years to keep testing LinkedIn to see, oh, do they really love live? Even though the capability is there, because if they love it, they'll give you organic reach.
Mm-hmm.
They'll show it for you. If they
Mm-hmm.
don't, they won't. And so I've been poking, for 2 years. And then we started with Don with Link Tank 3 months ago, started at zero. But now there's something different happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. You never know why with LinkedIn. So when we spoke, we said, look, it's once a week. we have to have a show. It's not like, oh, occasionally just going live. We have to have a promise. And the promise is that people will get, an idea or two from our conversations in either business or life. They help them to be better in business or better humans,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're here with an objective. It's not just, blabbing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're in it and we laugh because we got, two people live the first time. And even the replays, which is where most of the power comes. It starts small. Our first replay, I think you and I had 150 or 200 people each, maybe, or something. That based on what we're doing on LinkedIn with our videos, it's small, but it's growing.
Right.
And
Correct.
the reality is very few people on LinkedIn that we have a show.
You know what I'm thinking about, Mike? Here's what I'm thinking about. I think it's very few people have the tenacity and the grits in order to be resilient to keep going. I don't know if it's an instant thing, like I tried it for 30 days. I think it's this fear of failure, that what happens if I keep going? And you know what? You got to be a little bit of a lunatic to be like, all right, well, let's just do this and let's just keep doing this. And whatever, we'll keep chipping away. We'll keep grinding. There's a tenacity that comes with that, and I don't see that. And maybe this is we're coming to the end, but maybe we should have this conversation next week, which is we get into these topics of what it takes to market and sell, and all this stuff, and why it works and doesn't. But maybe to what we've ended up here today is it has more to do with the tenacity. If we go back to the Wolf of Wall Street, which we'll leave nameless. You can't argue tenacity there, right? There was a
No,
complete
the success that they have.
Mhm.
Just look. I mean, the success that they have. Look at Adam Newman with WeWork. I mean, he wanted to be the first trillionaire, and what he built is, I mean, it's one of the most recognized global brands. Now, the ego kind of went a little nutso over there, but the tenacity, it's unwavering. It's unwavering. And so we want to be able to take that unwavering tenacity into just normal people like you and I. Like we're not going to have a trillion dollar net worth. I don't know if we even have a desire. I don't. Because I just want to spend a lot of time with my family also. But it would be nice to be independently wealthy, to be able to share and do more and help other amazing people come up through the ranks and, have the resources to do that. But it's a far cry from, working every moment to build something extraordinary.
Correct.
So let's do this. Tune in next week. So here is something that came up in last week's Torah portion and one of the lectures about the Torah portion, and it was because there's so many stories in the Old Testament they're all trials and tribulations. There's nothing that was an easy route. In
Correct.
the
They had the
desert,
tenacity to keep going.
in the desert for 40 years, the youngest son was in a prison in Egypt. I mean, it's just crazy. So the conversation was something that was really cool, which just perfectly fits into what we can talk about on Monday. And it's basically having this imprint, this vision of yourself that is already in the place, that is the success. So while all these turns and ups and downs and challenges come, because you see yourself as that person, you're unwavering. This is a good topic for next
Law of
for Monday.
attraction, put it in the universe, coincidentally, remind me, but there's a story Trump tells. It might not be the most popular, but tells a story about, how someone only flew first class, couldn't afford it, but they knew in life that that's where they're going to be. So he said, I'm going to start acting like that now. Anyway, interesting. All right, Mike, why don't you sign us off today? You started us and you can sign us off.
Witz, how many people are better humans today because of you?
Well, I'd like to think a few more. Hopefully the message and hopefully the mission is out there. Did I tell you about the plane I was flying back and someone saw the hat and they made a comment? No, quickly. So I'm
Yeah.
flying back. I'm on the plane. I'm sitting there. People walking on, and as this lady walks up, she looks at me. She's like, "It's a lot of work you got there going." I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "That's a lot of responsibility you got on your hat there. It's a big mission." And I was like, "It's the mission, right?
Read it.
Making
Read
humans."
it because it's backwards again. Read it.
So it says, "Making humans better humans,"
There
which
we go. It is flipped.
is
It's good.
which
Yes.
is the mission, making humans better humans. And your
Yeah.
hat says spreading the love. So I think those two messages go well
hand,
together.
they go, look at that, hand in hand. That's how they got that expression.
Mhm.
I think we can leave it at that. All right, over and out. Send us questions, message us on LinkedIn. We're going to be here next week, every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Witz and Weiss out.
Ciao.